Well, some might argue that bike riders and car drivers are like oil and water. They just don't mix. But no disagreement on the road is worth a life. Grieving widow Louise Brand knows that better than most.
I've only been here once before, and I had a complete meltdown, so...
But Louise Brand has come back to give us all a message.
Basically, David was made a vegetable on the road here, where he came over his handlebars.
David was her cycling-loving, family-loving husband of 40 years, who one recent Saturday morning encountered an angry motorist. This man.
You feel quite remorseful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Has it changed your life?
Yes, it has.
It has?
If he had not got out of his car that day, David would have been frightened, scared by the close encounter, but he would be alive.
We all agree our roads are getting busier. Built long ago for fewer vehicles, today they must cope with a growing population and ever more people cycling to work because of fewer parking spots, or just to keep active and healthy in a sport that is becoming more and more popular. But once we're on the road, too many of us are disagreeing.
Hey, mate, it's a red light.
Sorry.
And now there are calls.
For the first few months, I have to say I was on remote control. I had my children to think of.
For us all to do something about the alarming level of aggression we now see on our roads.
The evidence is that it seems to be increasing and that may be related to increases in traffic congestion.
There needs to be a discussion at a political level as to how we can make our roads safer for everyone, and why road rage is on the increase. I feel that cyclists are often just thought of by motorists as nuisances on the road. They're not thought of people, loving, caring husbands and fathers. They're just not thought of people who are nurses or teachers.
David Brand was a teacher, recently retired after a lifetime of work. This was the last photo of him with his sons just before he died.
He was my fit, healthy, happy, highly intelligent husband. Convulsing on the ground, blood on the ground. He had a fractured skull. He had a scrambled and bleeding brain. And then it turns out that he also had a ruptured brain stem.
David and Louise were part of a cycling club. They would always cycle together, except for this one time when he lost a chain and told Louise to go ahead and he would catch up. He never did.
I'd passed him close because I had nowhere else to go because there was another car coming.
Nathan Cumming admits he drove close to David that day and told a court later that David gave him the finger after the close call.
Then Mr. Cumming came to a screeching halt in front of him, about 500 metres ahead, got out of his car and came at David in a confrontational manner.
The court heard Nathan Cumming walked into the middle of the road and attempted to stop David, who was still riding. The dead man isn't here to tell, but Mr. Cumming says they both went in the same direction and collided.
David's travelling at 40 kilometres an hour. He weighed over 80 kilos. Impact to the other person, and that other person walks away, whereas my husband goes over the handlebars and suffers multiple injuries.
Louise still has many unanswered questions, and I put one to Cumming.
Do you regret stopping?
I do, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Because if you hadn't stopped and gone on and copped the finger, it'd be all different today, I suppose.
Would be.
Yeah.
I think that impatience exists when somebody's in the driver's seat of a car and somebody's on the seat of a bicycle, and you know, they come together.
Shane and Jerry were part of David's bicycle group that day. They too never saw the accident. But Shane has filmed enough of them himself while riding, and both of them are convinced we all as a society need to reassess our relationship with others on our ever increasingly congested roads.
It's not necessarily a cycling issue that we're dealing with here, it's a social issue.
Yeah.
And it really is, how do we deal with our neighbour? You know, how do we be nice to people? And I don't think as a society we're doing too well. I think we observe our society getting a little bit shorter and a bit less patient with people.
Josh witnessed that on Saturday.
Oh, the bump's very close.
He's not only an avid rider, but a producer here at A Current Affair.
Oh, that was close. Jeez.
In the space of a few hours,
Hey, there's cars up ahead. Someone's not happy, wants me to go in the lane where cars are parked.
well, as a non-rider, I don't see the joy in this.
Oh, that van was close.
We're all together and we need to share the roads that we have to cope with.
And that's just it. Director of the Centre of Accident Research and Road Safety in Queensland, Professor Narelle Harworth, says road aggression is increasing and both sides need to take stock of the rights of each other. Don't ride in a pack and block the road, and motorists obey the 1 metre clear rule.
I think a lot of motorists just don't know that it's legal to ride two abreast, and then they perceive that as illegal and therefore something that, you know, they object to.
Cars pay to be on the road, yet you've got this bull crap because of two cyclists.
Yep.
Mind you, on a highway doing 100 kilometres.
Perhaps another death is time for us all to stop and think. Certainly Nathan Cumming is. He escaped jail time and was given a 12-month intensive corrections order, a $5,000 fine and 200 hours of community service.
I can't understand why Mr. Cummings has received such a light sentence. He has, through his actions, his reckless actions of getting out of the car and confronting my husband, caused his death.
Which the sentencing magistrate said was preventable.
Yes.
As for Louise, she will never ride again.
No, I haven't cycled since the day of the accident. Just even the thought makes me tearful. I couldn't do it again.
A widow who has dear friends like Kate, who had been with her and David on the morning of the accident.
She was looking at David and smiling, and it was so nice, and then an hour later all this happened.
Whether you're a motorist or cyclist, perhaps this story has a lesson for all of us.
Life is better when you're good to people, don't you think? I think it is.
Louise says she'll keep fighting to find out exactly how David died.